The silent station. The mining station Omega-7 hung in the void like a metallic spider, its 8 extraction arms reaching deep into the asteroid field surrounding it. Captain Sarah Chen pressed her palm against the observation deck's reinforced viewport, watching the automated harvesters strip precious minerals from floating rocks the size of city blocks. 3 years she had been stationed here on the edge of known space, and the isolation never quite stopped feeling like a weight on her chest. Another successful day in paradise, she muttered, turning away from the endless expanse of stars. Behind her, Zektar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, the Cytherian's way of showing amusement. The tall, crystalline being had been her partner in running this operation since day 1, and his species' natural affinity for mathematics made him an excellent station commander. Where humans saw chaos in the asteroid field, Zektar saw patterns and probability matrices. "The irony in your statement is noted, Captain Chen," Zektar said, his translator converting his harmonic speech into crisp English. "Though I must point out that today's mineral yield exceeded projections by 12%. Sarah laughed despite herself. "You know what I meant, Zek. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if something actually interesting occurred out here." As if the universe had been waiting for those exact words, the station's proximity alarms began screaming. The command center erupted in controlled chaos as both officers rushed to their stations. Holographic displays materialized around them, showing the asteroid field in 3-dimensional detail. At first, Sarah saw nothing unusual. Then Zektar's crystalline fingers danced across his console and everything changed. "Energy signatures detected," the Cytherian announced, his harmonic voice taking on an edge that Sarah had never heard before. "Pattern analysis suggests this cannot be correct." "What is it?" Sarah demanded, pulling up her own tactical display. "The CU energy patterns match historical records from the archive wars, Captain. These signatures belong to the Void Hunters." Sarah's blood ran cold. Every species in known space had heard the legends of the Void Hunters, ancient predators that had terrorized the galaxy eons ago before mysteriously vanishing. Most considered them myths, cautionary tales told to keep young species from venturing too far into unexplored space. "That's impossible," she said. "The Void Hunters are extinct. They've been gone for thousands of years." Zektar's 4 eyes fixed on her with grim certainty. "Tell that to the 6 massive vessels emerging from hyperspace directly ahead of us." The main viewer flickered to life and Sarah's heart nearly stopped. The ships were unlike anything she had ever seen, constructed from what appeared to be living shadow and twisted metal. They moved through space with predatory grace, their hulls seeming to absorb light itself. Each vessel was easily 5 times larger than Omega-7, and they radiated menace like heat from a forge. "Incoming transmission," Zektar reported. "Audio only." The voice that filled the command center was like grinding stone mixed with whispers. When it spoke, it seemed to bypass the ears entirely and speak directly to the terror centers of the brain. "Small beings, you trespass in feeding grounds," Long claimed. "Prepare for harvest." Sarah's training kicked in, pushing down the primal fear that threatened to overwhelm her. She had been a military engineer before taking this posting, and she knew that panic was the enemy of survival. Her fingers flew across the console, activating the station's defensive systems. "Shields up," she ordered, "and get me a channel to the nearest naval base." "Shields at maximum," Zektar confirmed. "However, long-range communications are being jammed. We are isolated." The first attack came without warning. Beams of what looked like liquid darkness lanced out from the Void Hunter vessels, striking Omega-7's shields with tremendous force. The entire station shuddered, and several of the outer mining arms sparked and went dark. "Shield generators at 60%, Zektar reported. "At this rate of fire, we have perhaps 15 minutes before complete failure." Sarah's mind raced. The station's defenses had been designed to ward off pirates and claim jumpers, not ancient galactic predators, but she refused to give up without a fight. Her eyes fell on the mining equipment displays, and suddenly an idea began to form. "Zek, can you reroute power from the mining lasers to the shield generators?" "Negative. The power couplings are incompatible." Another blast rocked the station. "Shield strength now at 40%. Sarah was already moving, running toward the maintenance shafts. Then we don't reroute the power. We reroute the lasers themselves. The next 10 minutes became a blur of desperate engineering. While Zektar maintained the failing shields, Sarah crawled through maintenance tunnels, her hands bleeding from rushed repairs as she manually reconfigured the mining equipment. The industrial-grade lasers used to cut through asteroid rock were never meant to be weapons, but desperate times called for creative solutions. Sarah. Zektar's voice crackled through her comm unit. Shields at 20%. Whatever you are planning, it must happen now. Almost there, she grunted, making the final connection. On my mark, drop the forward shields and transfer all power to engines. We're going to ram the nearest asteroid into their formation. That is tactically unsound. The kinetic impact will destroy us as well. Trust me. Sarah's voice was steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. I have an idea that's either brilliant or suicidal. Maybe both. The shields collapsed just as Sarah activated her improvised weapon system. The mining lasers, designed to precisely cut through solid rock, fired in sequence at a house-sized asteroid directly above the void, Hunter Formation. But instead of cutting it apart, the lasers had been recalibrated to create controlled fractures. The asteroid didn't shatter. Instead, it split into dozens of smaller chunks, each one following a slightly different trajectory. The Void Hunters, expecting a single large impact they could easily avoid, suddenly found themselves facing a shotgun blast of space debris moving at tremendous velocity. Two of the smaller Void Hunter vessels took direct hits, their organic hulls rupturing in spectacular displays of escaping atmosphere and alien technology. The remaining 4 ships pulled back, clearly reassessing their easy prey. Impressive, the grinding voice returned. Small beings show cleverness. This makes the harvest more interesting. Sarah activated the emergency beacon, using every frequency and protocol she knew. The message was simple and desperate. Mayday, Mayday. This is Mining Station Omega-7 under attack by unknown hostiles. Require immediate assistance. Will continue transmitting on all frequencies. The Void Hunters renewed their assault with increased ferocity, but Sarah's impromptu defense had bought them precious time. Using the mining equipment and the asteroid field itself as weapons, she managed to keep the predators at bay for nearly an hour. But ammunition was running low. The station's power grid was failing, and she knew it was only a matter of time. That's when Zektar's harmonic voice carried a note of disbelief. Sarah, I'm detecting a hyperspace emergence signature. Single vessel, mass approximately 2,000 tons. Naval rescue? Sarah asked hopefully. Negative. The energy signature matches civilian freight hauler specifications. Zektar paused. Someone is answering our distress call. The ship that dropped out of hyperspace was nothing like the sleek military vessel Sarah had hoped for. The Iron Mule was a battered freight hauler, its hull scarred by countless asteroid impacts and emergency repairs. It looked like it had been held together with determination and scrap metal. A new voice crackled over the communications array, carrying a distinctly human accent with traces of old Earth Spanish. Omega-7, this is Captain Marcus Rodriguez of the Iron Mule. Heard you folks might be having some trouble out there. Sarah stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The freight hauler was less than half the size of her mining station, and appeared to be armed with nothing more than standard navigation deflectors and a few light plasma cannons meant for clearing space debris. Iron Mule, this is Captain Chen. You need to get out of here immediately. We're under attack by Void Hunters. 6 ships, massive firepower, you can't help us. Marcus Rodriguez's laughter carried a note of grim humor. Well now, that's where you're wrong, Captain. See, the thing about us freight haulers is we talk to each other, a lot. And when someone sends out a Mayday call, word travels fast through the trade networks. As if summoned by his words, more ships began dropping out of hyperspace. Not military vessels, but an eclectic collection of freight haulers, passenger liners, mining ships, and even a few tourist vessels. Within minutes, nearly 30 human ships of various sizes surrounded the Void Hunter formation. Now, Rodriguez continued, I'll admit we're not exactly the cavalry you were hoping for, But we humans have a saying, mess with one of us, mess with all of us. And these void hunters just made a very big mistake. The largest void hunter vessel turned its attention to the human fleet, its grinding voice filled with contempt. More small beings come to feed our hunger. Your sacrifice honors the ancient ways. Rodriguez's response was delivered with characteristic human understatement. Well, partner, I reckon we'll just have to agree to disagree on that point. All ships, this is Iron Mule. Let's show these prehistoric nightmares what 21st century ingenuity looks like. When humans adapt, what followed was unlike any space battle in recorded history. The Void Hunters, accustomed to overwhelming technologically inferior opponents through sheer firepower, found themselves facing something completely unexpected: human adaptability. Marcus Rodriguez had spent 15 years running freight through the most dangerous sectors of known space. His ship might have looked like scrap metal held together by prayers, but appearances were deceiving. The Iron Mule was a masterpiece of improvised engineering, modified and remodified countless times to handle whatever the universe threw at it. Elena, warm up the surprise package, Rodriguez called to his chief engineer. Victor, I need you to plot me an approach vector through Sector 7 of that asteroid field. Jenny, start broadcasting our shipping manifests on all frequencies. His crew, a mix of former military personnel and civilian traders, responded with practiced efficiency. They had worked together long enough to anticipate each other's moves, and more importantly, they understood that survival often depended on thinking outside conventional tactical doctrine. Marcus, why are we broadcasting our cargo manifests? Asked Jenny Park, the ship's communications officer. Because, darling, information is the most valuable cargo in the universe, Rodriguez replied. And right now, every human ship out there needs to know exactly what toys we've got to play with. The human fleet began to move, but not in any formation that would make sense to traditional military minds. Instead of presenting a unified front, the ships scattered throughout the asteroid field, using the floating rocks as cover and concealment. The Void Hunters initially saw this as cowardice, but they were about to learn a hard lesson about human tactics. Captain Chen watched from Omega 7 as the improvised battle unfolded. The freight haulers and civilian vessels weren't trying to engage the Void Hunters directly. Instead, they were using the asteroid field itself as a weapon system on a massive scale. The key to their strategy became clear when 3 mining vessels coordinated their industrial lasers to destabilize a massive asteroid directly above the Void Hunter formation. As the space rock began to break apart, a passenger liner used its powerful engines to nudge the debris field toward the enemy ships. Meanwhile, 2 freight haulers dumped their cargo, thousands of tons of industrial metal, directly into the path of the falling debris. The result was a kinetic bombardment that would have made a military strategist weep with envy. The Void Hunters found themselves dodging not just asteroid fragments, but improvised shrapnel moving at tremendous velocity. Clever small beings, the grinding voice acknowledged. But cleverness will not save you from the hunger. The largest Void Hunter vessel began to glow with malevolent energy, preparing what appeared to be some kind of doomsday weapon. That's when the Iron Mule made its move. Rodriguez had been analyzing the Void Hunter ship's movements for the past hour, looking for patterns and weaknesses. What he found was something that would have been invisible to most observers. The alien vessels were actually organic in nature, with biological systems that responded to specific stimuli. Elena, deploy the surprise package now, he ordered. From the Iron Mule's cargo bay, thousands of small objects scattered into space. At first glance, they looked like nothing more than space debris, but each object was actually a modified shipping beacon, normally used to track cargo containers through hyperspace. Elena Martinez, Rodriguez's engineer, had spent years modifying them for a very different purpose. The beacons began broadcasting on very specific frequencies, wavelengths that interfaced directly with the organic systems of the Void Hunter vessels. The effect was immediate and devastating. The alien ships began to convulse, their living hulls reacting as if they were being poisoned. "What sorcery is this?" the Void Hunter commander demanded, his voice losing its confident malevolence. "No sorcery, friend," Rodriguez replied calmly. Just good old-fashioned human ingenuity. See, we humans have been studying your energy signatures since this fight started. My engineer used to work for an agricultural terraforming company. Turns out, the same frequencies we use to disrupt harmful bacteria work pretty well on organic spacecraft too. The Void Hunter fleet was in chaos. Their organic hulls were shutting down, life support systems failing, weapons offline, but Rodriguez wasn't finished yet. All ships, this is Iron Mule. Time for the finale. Execute pattern Zulu 7. The human fleet began to move in perfect coordination, each vessel taking a predetermined position around the disabled Void Hunter ships. It looked random to outside observers, but it was actually based on a shipping pattern that every freight hauler in the galaxy knew by heart. The optimal formation for moving large cargo through hyperspace. You see, Rodriguez continued, his voice now carrying the tone of a teacher explaining a simple concept to a slow student. We humans have been moving things through space for centuries. We know how to use gravity wells, hyperspace currents, and stellar phenomena to our advantage. Right now you're sitting in the middle of the most efficient cargo transport formation ever devised. The Void Hunters realized what was happening, a moment too late. The human ships fired their engines in sequence, creating a carefully calculated gravity effect that began to pull the alien vessels toward the system's star. But they weren't trying to destroy the Void Hunters. They were trying to transport them. We're sending you home, Rodriguez explained. Back to whatever dark corner of the galaxy you crawled out of. Consider it a free shipping service courtesy of humanity. The hyperspace rift that opened was enormous, easily large enough to accommodate all 6 Void Hunter vessels. The organic ships, still struggling to regain control of their systems, were pulled inexorably toward the portal. The Void Hunter commander's final transmission carried a note of something that might have been respect. Small beings show great cleverness. The hunt is ended. We will remember. As the ancient predators vanished into hyperspace, the human fleet began to disperse. Some ships stayed to help repair Omega 7, while others continued on their original trade routes. For most of them, this had been just another day's work, a dangerous obstacle overcome through cooperation and ingenuity. Rodriguez docked his ship with the mining station, and Sarah Chen found herself face to face with her unlikely savior. He was a compact man in his 50s, with calloused hands and eyes that had seen too much of the universe's dangers. His smile, however, was warm and genuine. "Captain Chen," he said, extending his hand. "Marcus Rodriguez. Pleasure to meet you, though I wish it had been under better circumstances." "I don't understand," Sarah said, shaking his hand. "Why did you come, all of you? This wasn't your fight." Rodriguez's smile widened. "Ma'am, with respect, that's where you're wrong. See, we humans have been wandering through space for a few centuries now, and we've learned something important. When someone sends out a distress call, you answer it. Because tomorrow, it might be you who needs help." Zektar approached, his crystalline form reflecting the station's emergency lighting. "The tactical coordination displayed by your fleet was remarkable, Captain Rodriguez. How did you achieve such precision with vessels that had never trained together?" "Simple," Rodriguez replied. "We talk to each other. Human freight haulers, passenger liner captains, mining ship crews. We've got the biggest communication network in the galaxy." When Captain Chen sent out her Mayday, it reached every human ship within 50 light-years within an hour. He paused, looking out at the stars visible through the observation deck's viewport. "The thing is, we humans spent millennia fighting each other back on Earth. We learned the hard way that cooperation beats competition every time. When we finally made it to space, we brought that lesson with us." Sarah felt something shift in her understanding of what it meant to be human in this vast, dangerous universe. She had always thought of herself as isolated, alone on the edge of known space. But she was beginning to realize that no human was ever truly alone. "So what happens now?" she asked. Rodriguez grinned. Now we get this station back online and you continue doing the important work of pushing the boundaries of known space. And the next time someone sends out a distress call, we'll answer that one too." As the human ships departed over the following hours, Sarah stood on the observation deck with Zektar watching the stars. The Catherian had been unusually quiet since the battle ended. "Something on your mind, Zek?" she asked. "I have been analyzing the tactical data from the engagement," he replied. "The human fleet's victory was not achieved through superior technology or firepower. It was accomplished through adaptability, communication, and what I believe humans call thinking outside the box." "Is that surprising?" Zektar's four eyes blinked in sequence. "What surprises me, Captain Chen, is that a species barely 300 years into spaceflight managed to defeat an enemy that terrorized the galaxy for millennia. The Void Hunters were ancient, powerful, and utterly ruthless. Yet they were overcome by freight haulers and civilian vessels." Sarah smiled, feeling a surge of pride in her species that she had never experienced before. "You know what I think, Zek? I think the Void Hunters made the same mistake a lot of people make about humans. They assumed we were just another primitive species to be conquered. They didn't realize that our greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our refusal to give up and our willingness to help each other." The communication console chimed, indicating an incoming message. Sarah activated it, and Marcus Rodriguez's voice filled the observation deck one final time. "Omega-7, this is Iron Mule. We're about to jump to hyperspace, but I wanted to leave you with something. I've updated the freight hauler network databases with your station's coordinates and communication frequencies. From now on, you're officially part of the Human Merchant Marine's emergency response system. Anytime you need help, just send out the call. Someone will answer." As the Iron Mule and the last of the rescue ships vanished into hyperspace, Sarah realized that her isolation had ended forever. She was still on the edge of known space, still surrounded by the vast emptiness of the asteroid field. But she was no longer alone. The universe was a dangerous place filled with ancient predators and unknown threats, but it was also filled with beings willing to risk everything to answer a stranger's distress call. And as long as humans retained that willingness to help each other, Sarah knew that no enemy, no matter how ancient or powerful, could truly defeat them. The beacon of Omega-7 continued to pulse steadily, broadcasting its signal into the void. But it was no longer just a mining station's identifier. It had become something more, a symbol of human determination, a testament to the power of cooperation, and a promise that no call for help would go unanswered. In the endless expanse of space that was perhaps the most powerful weapon of all,